Hi, Dick. I don't know. Hey, how am I doing? I said, how am I doing? All right. All right. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for your patience. I'm a little bit late this morning. Our clerk treasurer isn't here, and I was trying to find some extra agendas for the back and didn't have any luck. I apologize for that as well. Roll call. Cheryl, please.
Mayor Ted Franklin.
Here.
Chris Armstrong. Here. Ron Miller.
Ron Miller informed me he would not be able to make it to today's meeting. Approval of minutes from August 2nd, 2012.
I move that we approve the minutes from August 2nd, 2012.
And I would second that. They are in order and appear to be correct. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes on a vote of 2-0. Approval of claims in the amount of $84,221.53. I make the motion we approve the claims as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
No.
All in favor of approving the claims as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 2-0. Approval of licenses. Electrical license for Tim Hood. Everything appears to be in order. I would make the motion that we approve the electrical license for Tim Hood.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion or objections? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 2-0. Changes to the agenda.
I do have one change. Under new business, Randy had autism. Society of Indiana, the road will be closed between 18th and 20th, not 19th.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Very good. We'll remind us of that when we get to that. Okay. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Okay. Old business? There's none. Under new business, Jeannie Jones of 1920 High Street. I will read the request. Is Jeannie here? No. Jeannie Jones of 1920 High Street is requesting to have a DJ for the reunion of the class of 1967 on Friday, August 21st, 2012, and Saturday, September 1st, 2012, until 11 p.m. both evenings. They have agreed that if anyone complains about the noise after 9 p.m., they will be happy to stop the DJ. And the neighbors have been invited so they don't feel this will pose a problem. I have talked to Jeannie and her husband about the request. They have agreed, if they do get a complaint, that they would shut the music down upon receiving the first complaint. And I've actually attended their party before, and it is well attended by the neighbors. I don't see a problem with it, and I would make the motion that we approve that request, subject to the conditions that we placed on it.
That should be the 31st, not 21st.
It should be the 31st. August 31st, 2012, and Saturday, September 1st, 2012. So I have a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the request signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes on a vote of 2-0. Sheila Wildermuth, Art on the Avenue festivities, September 14, 15, 16, 4th Street from the alley to Melbourne, and close Melbourne from 3rd Street to 5th Street. Is Sheila here?
No.
No. Would you care to tell us about that one?
Yes, they have this event every year, and they would like to close 4th Street from Market to Melbourne, and Melbourne from 3rd to 5th Street. It will be from September 4th at 9 a.m. through Sunday, September 16th at 4 p.m. Or sooner if they get everything torn down sooner.
I understand this is an annual request. It's been approved in the past. I know of no complaints whatsoever in the past. It's been going on for different locations throughout town for at least 10 years, probably longer than that. I would make the motion that we approve the request as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion or any objections? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes on a vote of 2-0. Autism Society of Indiana. I'm going to read this request. Mayor, I'd like to get on the Board of Works agenda for next week to ask the city to close Jefferson Street between 18th and 20th Street for 2 hours from 10 a.m. till noon on October 6th. The Autism Society of Indiana will have its first ever pumpkin run where people decorate pumpkins, attach wheels, and race them down the hill. The Autism Society has asked you and me to judge the winners. This event will generate publicity and a lot of money for the Autism Society. That's basically the request. And knowing the history of Jefferson Hill and knowing that the city used to host a soapbox derby there for many years back in the 70s, I know it can be a very fun event, and it's also a good positive thing for the city. I would make the motion that we approve this request.
I would like
Yes.
to.
Oh, please.
Maybe he's gonna have-
Add that Chris Armstrong and I walked door to door of all the residences that would be affected by this closure, and we had no complaints or issues with it being closed. So I just wanted to add that.
Well, thank you for putting that on the record. I was aware of that, but failed to mention it, so thank you for reminding us of that. We do have a motion. Did you make the second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion, objections? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the request signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes on a vote of 2-0. Reports from the acting building commissioner. Deb?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. I had 14 building permits this week. The construction value was $1,045,924. One of them was Transco and one of them was All Saints for their boiler room and HVAC. And then I had 2 building inspections, and I asked a property owner to appear, and he is here, for 1109 Erie Avenue.
Okay. Yeah. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, thank you. Please state your name for the record, name and address.
My name is Melvin Nichols, and my address is 1109 Erie Avenue here in Logansport.
Okay.
The reason I asked him here was because he gave me a plan of action in March, and nothing has been done yet. And I just wanted him to explain his situation so you would be aware of it.
Okay, Melvin, what you got?
Okay, back in March, my home was condemned, and I had written out a plan of action for the building commissioner, but nothing had been done up to this particular point because I am financially unable, but yet I have been working diligently to try to find an organization or some type of source to take care of the issue at hand. So,
Okay, are you working now?
yes, sir.
Okay, where you work at, Melvin?
Totally Electronics.
Okay. Did you work 40 hours a week?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, first I want to say thank you for being here. I do appreciate you at least addressing the problem, coming here before
Not
us.
a problem.
We want to work with you in every way that we possibly can. I can appreciate finding the resources to do the improvements that are needed.
Yes, sir.
And like I said, we want to work with you in every way that we can. And we are prepared to do that. Just by being here today, you've shown me that you take this seriously and that you are trying to come
Yes,
up with
sir.
a way to comply. We're only trying to make the city better. And
Yes, sir.
we're,
I'm all for that.
yeah, and we deal with these on a regular basis. I'm not sure how closely you follow it, but I do understand what you're up against as far as the financial situation. It takes a lot of money to fix up a house.
Yes, sir.
I do see some other violations here, though, that wouldn't take very much money and would go a long ways towards,
Absolutely.
cleaning it up and at least showing that you do intend to take some positive steps.
Yes.
I have some photographs here in front of me, and it appears as if this area right here is overgrown. There's several
Yes.
areas that are overgrown. The city goes to great lengths to help people clean up their properties.
Absolutely.
And if I could ask you to cut back the weeds and the overgrowth there, and all you have to do is get it out to the street, and the city picks it up. We run a regular route once or sometimes every other week, once a week or every other week
Yes.
at a bare minimum. And, that's something that can be done that doesn't cost any money.
Yes, sir, I agree.
I know what a 40-hour week is, but I'm also very aware of what an 80-hour week is too.
Yes.
And as long as we're seeing some progress there, we're willing to work with you. But we have to see some progress.
Yes.
And what I would like to do is continue this until a date in the future, and I will let that be determined by the building commissioner when we follow up on it.
Yes, sir.
But I see no reason why we can't at least have the growth and the vegetation taken care of within a very short period of time. As a matter of fact, if you need any tools to do that, we have some hand tools that we'd be glad to loan you if it can move the progress along or move it along. So
Yes, sir.
having said that, I will make a motion that we take this 1109 Erie Avenue consideration under advisement until the building commissioner has a chance to follow up with you, and we will keep an eye on it.
Yes.
And like I said, as long as we're seeing some progress, we want to work with you. And it looks like we're going to see that. I trust that you'll make an effort to take care of the vegetation, the overgrowth.
Yes, sir.
And we'll let Deb coordinate with you and stay in contact and let us know how things are going.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I will make that as a formal motion to take 1109 Erie Avenue under advisement until a date that the building commissioner determines, and let her follow up with us.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded to take 1109 Erie Avenue under advisement till future date. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes on a vote of 2-0. Thank you, Melvin.
Thank you.
And Deb, do you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, I would then make a motion to accept the building commissioner's report as presented.
Second.
And is there any discussion or objections? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes on a vote of 2-0. Thank you, Deb. All right. Next is Code Enforcement Officer. Code Enforcement Officer Franklin, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How about you, Mayor?
Please give us your report.
You should have in front of you a copy of this week's report. I do have two people that I've requested to be here today. I believe they're both here.
Okay.
Before we get into that portion of it, do you have any questions over the inspections, letters, or anything that I've sent out so far?
I think it's pretty clear. I certainly understand it. Thank you for your efforts.
Not a problem. And Chris, I did get your text message this morning concerning the house on Bates Street. And if we're looking at the same house, they've already received a letter about a week ago.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll talk with you about that further after the meeting.
Okay.
First of all, the first people that I've requested to be here is James and Julia Quigney. If you guys want to come on up here, while they're on their way up here, I'll give a brief history on this property. It's located at 1728 Michigan Avenue. I believe it was, if not the first, one of the very first properties that I started receiving complaints on when I took this job. I feel the city has been more than patient and lenient with them. We've been over backwards. We've gone so far as to take a street department trailer up there, have them clean their property up, and haul it away and not put any kind of liens or anything against the property, not charge them for it. They had agreed to tear down an old dilapidated shed that was on their property. They did tear that down, and I believe it was our April Board of Works meeting, one of them in April. They were present, and they had promised to have a new shed built by May and have all the stuff in their yard inside that shed and clean it up. In addition to that, there's a tree on their property, I believe that you have pictures of it, The tree has been down ever since I've been in this position. It's in a very unsafe condition. It's resting on another branch of another tree. The weight of that, I'm quite surprised, hasn't already cracked or broken that branch. It hangs over the neighbor's garage and driveway. He's constantly calling me, concerned about it falling down on his garage or falling down on his vehicle. In fact, he stopped parking his vehicle underneath there because he's concerned about that. Since they cleaned it up in April, it has gotten back to where it is in just as bad a shape, if not worse, than what it was prior to them cleaning it up in April. And I have made a recommendation in my report this month that the city go ahead and take action to clean the property up and follow our standard procedure where upon the completion of the cleanup, we would bill them for the amount of the cleanup plus the amount of labor equipment used in the dumping fees out at the city or out at the waste management Oak Ridge facility. And if that's not paid within the 30-day allotted time, that we place lien on the property. And I believe Mr. and Mrs. Quigney are here now, so I'll let you address them, Your Honor.
Hi. How you folks doing?
Good, that's so good now.
That's a good.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, please. If you would state your name and address for the record.
Julia Quigney, 1728 Michigan Avenue.
Okay.
We were going to put up a shed. Due to financial reasons, we couldn't. We rented a used storeroom out by Martin's, and most of the stuff is out there, except for the lawn furniture and a container of stuff the city would not pick up, and my flower pots from my pot garden. And that's what's sitting in the backyard.
When did you do that? Can you put the stuff out of the storage?
In April?
In April,
April.
May.
Okay.
I believe you have pictures, just for the record, those pictures were taken Monday morning.
August 6th. Yeah.
There's a big black barrel sitting there with the charcoal grill, with the tables that goes with the furniture, the lawn furniture, and a sack of aluminum cans.
Okay, Julia.
Now, as for the tree, okay, the neighbors keep saying that it's not their tree, but they can't have it both ways, can they? Because they're claiming the area in the front of the house. Mr. Franklin, here's a picture. And letting their drains run under our house, which would cover the trees belonging to them. Here's the rest of it.
Is that the tree we had a complaint on earlier this week?
Yes.
And has that been dealt with?
No, I'm sorry, this is a different tree.
Different tree.
Yeah.
And as for them not parking under there, they still were parked there this morning when I left.
Okay. With all due respect, and I say that sincerely, we've had an ongoing problem there, and you gave us your word that you would have the problem fixed in...
I can't afford to have that
I understand
tree
that you can't afford
there.
to build the shed.
We took care of our half.
Thank you.
Of that tree.
I understand that you can't afford to build the shed. What I also understand that it's more than just flower pots. Here's a piece of carpet that's draped over the porch.
Yeah, because it got wet and it was just put out there last week.
It's still there. Here is another photograph of, I'm not sure what it is. It's a pile of something.
May I
that
see the picture?
Actually, I will pass all the photographs to you when this is over, and I'm going to have the code enforcement officer go through each one of these photographs with you.
Then do you want to see the ones I have?
Are they on your property?
Yeah, they were taken on my property, but it shows where they're using.
Is there an is the alleged violation that you're talking about on your property at your address?
Yes.
It's on your, you're saying the violation is yours?
No.
Okay.
I've got their
Okay.
water draining on my house.
With all due respect, we're talking about your property today, which I think is 1728 Michigan Avenue. Okay, so this is apparently a violation at maybe 1724 Michigan Avenue?
It's to prove the point.
I understand, but we're not talking about that one today.
Well, we're talking about the tree.
No, we've been talking about your property since March or February, honestly.
Well,
And that's the one that we're going to focus on today. We'll focus on these. George will go do an inspection on that at some point in time this week. If there's a violation that merits action by the Board of Works, it will be on next week's Board of Works agenda.
Plus, our son will be here Monday to help us finish cleaning it up.
Well, that's going to work out perfectly, because what I'm going to ask from the Board of Works today is to give you until next Thursday morning. We meet again here next Thursday at 9 a.m. And if the property is not cleaned up, I would ask the code enforcement officer to check the property out at 8:45 on next Thursday morning. If the property is not cleaned up to your satisfaction, we will order the city's department to go up and do everything necessary to get it right, finally and once and for all. That includes the weeds too. That includes the debris that's in the back. That includes making that property 100% presentable. Here's yet another one that just is not what we're looking to do. We're hoping to be able to change that. And really, we've been talking about this. This is August. We've been talking about it for about 5 months.
And we asked George to come up and tell us just what he wanted moved,
And
what he wanted to got rid of, and he never has.
I know George has been there many times because I've
He's
been there
never
with
been there
him.
to talk to us. We wanted to talk to him.
I understand, and today will be a good time to do that because you're all together. So if you would just stick around for a couple minutes, as soon as we get finished dealing with George's issues, you can talk about that. George can make an appointment with you. You two can discuss it. But
Okay.
the clock strikes 12 next Thursday morning,
Okay.
and we will give you till then to get it all cleaned up, or the city will do it.
Okay.
Okay? I thank you very much. I would make that in the form of a motion to extend the consideration for property cleanup until next Thursday, which will be August 16th at 9 a.m.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right. All in favor of extending the deadline for the property cleanup till next Thursday, August 16th at 9 a.m., signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? It passes on a vote of 2-0, and that is in reference to 1728 Michigan Avenue. So the action that we just took is specific to your
Can I
address.
ask another question?
Yes,
before
please.
We had a tree to fall down in our back lot, not around the house, but the lot behind it. We piled it all up by the alley for the city, and they have yet to pick it up.
Okay. We'll get it
What
all
do
at the
we
same
do?
time. Is it tree limbs and brush?
It's tree limbs, it's brush, it's whatever fell off of the tree,
Okay.
and poison ivy.
We'll make arrangements to take care of that as well. We run that route once a week, sometimes every other week, depending on how busy we are. But how long has it been there?
Since last week.
Since last week. So we're just not there yet. They'll get to it. There's a couple of the storms that went through, they've had a plate full. And they're doing some milling and paving and things like that
And
now
we
as
do
well.
have a guy coming today to look at cutting down the rest of the trees that's in the back lot.
I honestly doubtful. The utilities sometimes will take care of a tree if it's in the wires.
No, there's a guy coming to take them.
You have a guy coming to
Yeah.
take it down. Okay, very good. I hope it gets done by next Thursday. Yeah, okay. Well,
I'm
thank
tired of
you.
looking at bare trees.
Sure. Well, thank you very much.
Your Honor, just for clarification, I want to make sure that your motion included the dead tree that's falling down.
Absolutely. Yep.
And also, for the record, the house next door that Mrs. Quigley is talking about, they did receive a letter, a memo letter, to clean up their yard this week.
Okay.
Just want to make sure that that's on.
And there's a 10-day grace period between the time they receive the letter and the time actions.
Correct,
Okay.
but I did go back past there, and the day they got the letter, they did mow their yard that day.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Regarding the rest of the code enforcement, thanks, Julia. And if you'll stick around, catch up with George after this meeting, you can have that meeting that you're requesting. Okay, rest of the code enforcement officers report.
In addition, I've requested Tom Harold. Tom will work his way up here. I will explain what's going on there. That is the old General Tire Trailboard property on Washington Street. I believe Mr. Harold purchased that several years ago. I don't know the exact date. Over the years, he has piecemealed parts of it out, salvaged, sold off. Recently, in the past year or so, he tore down the building. It consists, I believe, of approximately 15 acres there, I think. No, it's not 15, I'm not sure. Anyway, it was a very large building. Mr. Harold has no connections to Logansport. I want to get that on the record. He went in and tore down the building. He did pull a demolition permit to take the building down. Basically, anything that was salvageable that he could sell off to raise funds to make money off of, that material was hauled off, scrapped out, sold. He failed to tear up the cement floor that was there. It's a very, very large amount of concrete flooring. The masonry, the concrete blocks, that type of debris he left behind in piles, and quite large piles, I might add. In several of the pictures that I took yesterday that you're looking at now, I parked my truck in front of them to give you an idea of how big the piles actually are. They're taller than my truck, probably 4 or 5 times the length of my truck. Quite a bit of debris that he did attempt to conceal. There are several docks there, at least 3, I believe, that were paved, or concrete docks for semis to back up to for loading and unloading purposes. He filled those up with the broken concrete block. That has a very serious potential to create a breeding grounds for mosquitoes. Fortunately for us, we've not had a lot of rain this year, but I can foresee in the future, anytime that we do have a lot of rain, standing water in those ramps, those ramp areas with the blocks and stuff, that's going to create a very serious health hazard for the residents there. In addition to that, you can look at the pictures and see all the weeds, the growth. Mr. Harold did call me about 3 weeks ago on his own and tell me that he had hired somebody to cut down the weeds and try to make it look more presentable. However, you can see in the pictures there that that has not happened. He also told me that he was looking for someone who would take the block, the concrete material, masonry material, free of charge. You might want it fulfilled for a driveway. When I was over there yesterday, the majority of that block has a lot of rebar wire in it, fence wiring, conduit, a lot of metal like that. I don't think there's going to be anyone that would be willing to take that with the material that's in it. Also, as I was walking around, there's at least 2 pictures in there of areas of concrete that have a lot of oil residue on them. That's also going to create a hazardous material problem. And when it starts raining again, that oil debris is going to wash off into the ground. There was at least one area that was, I guess, 18 inches square that was, it appeared to have been some type of an old drain pit, and it did have a little bit of standing water in it, and you could see the oil, the murky dirt that was in there with the coloration on the water from the oil.
Okay, thank you. I've reviewed the pictures, and so has Mrs. Armstrong. Mr. Harold, if you would, please state your name and address for the record.
It's Tom Harold, 1221 Apple Tree Lane, and on the notice here it has it Appleton Lane. I'd like to make that correction. It's
Okay,
Apple
thank you.
Tree Lane. And first of all, I'd like to apologize for not making the last meeting. I did get the letter 2 days before the meeting, and I did talk with George, and I thought it was the following week.
I understand.
I was out of state. I apologize.
No, we're good. You're here.
Okay. We've owned that building for about 5 or 6 years, probably closer to 6. We used it for warehousing. It was an old manufacturing plant. About 1.5 years ago, we made a decision for economic reasons to sell the building. We didn't tear the building down. We sold the building to a contractor that does demolition work on buildings. They came in, demoed what they were supposed to demo. They were, in our contract, they were supposed to only fill those pits and remove any excess concrete block. I'll have to go into a discussion with them on them coming back on and removing the excess block. As far as the pits, we had a long discussion about the reason why those were filled, and it was simply for safety reasons. This company has done demolitions clear across the country, and that is their suggestion for safety reasons. The material that's left on there, I've got to question how much rebar and hazardous material. There's no hazardous material on site. Now, there may be a little bit of oil left over. I'm not familiar with it. George, were you on the site?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so you have keys?
The gate was actually open, the east gate.
Okay, I need to get that secured because...
Yeah, and that's another thing that I'm encountering is through my office, part of the complaints
Okay.
about children being
All
in
right.
there.
I'll, when I leave here, I'll go over there and lock that gate. Was there a lock on it?
There was a lock and a chain around it, but
But it wasn't locked?
It wasn't locked.
Okay.
When
I'll
I
get it.
left, I wrapped a chain around it to try to make it appear that it was locked.
Okay, well, I'll go over there and secure the property. I don't want anybody
Sure.
on the property
Mhm.
for safety reasons.
Mhm.
Last week, I did have a conversation with George and we discussed it. They came and sprayed for the weeds last week. If you want them cut down, maybe we can get a crew in there and cut them down. If you've got a service group or an organization that'd be willing to come in and say, here's what I'll charge you to cut down the weeds, I'd be more than glad to look at that also.
We have one of those. It's our Department of Public Works.
Okay. Well, I was looking for something for a little less.
Yeah.
I'll address that issue because I did go by there this morning and they're taller than what they...
Yeah, some of them appear to be at least 8 feet tall. And, at least on the Washington Street side of that.
Okay.
And I do have regular contacts from the neighborhood, and quite honestly, I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to live next to that. I wouldn't live next to that.
I'll get that taken care of within a week.
Okay.
The mowing and taking care of the weeds.
Okay.
Around the perimeter and all that.
What's your plan as far as the concrete blocks go? Because that is equally concerning. It's part of the demolition. I can't understand how anybody would try to do a demolition and think that they could haul the valuables out and leave the concrete block behind.
Well, that's for my attorney to address with the people that bought the building and that were supposed to remove all the excess block.
When could you have an answer for us? I mean, here's what
Yeah.
I don't expect the residents of the neighborhood to go through. A prolonged court battle where this
Sure.
could drag on for months and months and months, because they deserve better than that, quite honestly. Right now, we have the weeds, and during what amounts to one growing season, are over 8 feet tall, and they deserve better. And we will allow that 1 week grace period for you to get it done.
Okay.
And honestly, by next Thursday, we're going to have a cleanup crew in there taking care of it one way or another. And what we do then at that point in time is place a lien on the property, and we could even end up in small claims court ourselves. We have to recover our money, but you pulled a building permit back in probably January or so,
I
sometime.
think January, February when this company got there.
And here we are into the 8th month, so it's been at least 6 months. There hasn't been any progress in probably 5 months. They demoed the building. They quickly got in and did their demo and honestly harvested the valuables and have left the concrete behind for the neighbors to deal with. And it's not acceptable to us. We're not going to allow that to happen. I want to work with you, but I feel at this point that we've been 8 months into it, and that's plenty of time to have the whole property cleaned up by now. Have you had remediation done on the project or on that property? Any drilling, core samples?
No, when we bought the property 7 or 8 years ago, there was a clean environmental on it.
When you bought it, there was. Okay, very
So,
good.
and there was never any hazardous material.
Do you
brought in.
intend to
It was
go
only
back
used-
and take the concrete cap off of it?
Pardon?
Do you intend to remove the concrete and the asphalt?
What we intended to do was look for another type of use that could incorporate the asphalt and the concrete. We've talked with a group that does housing, state-funded housing. They're trying to find the funds for this county. I don't know if there's any funds available for housing projects or not. They're looking into that. They've been working on that for the last 2 or 3 months. We've considered also building additional storage units there. There, again, we could incorporate the concrete and the asphalt. I'd like to work with you and see if you have any ideas that would work with you on the city.
Obviously, before anything can take place, it's going to have to be cleaned up. The concrete's going to have to be removed. I have one of the neighbors that I hear from often that's here today. That's right outside his front door, and I don't blame him. I would be here every single week complaining until it was taken care of. I don't expect the property across from 1221 Apple Tree Lane in Kokomo looks like that, and it's just not acceptable.
I have talked with a company that comes in and grinds up concrete, and hopefully we can get them out there within a week to give an estimate on that. As far as tremendous amount of rebar, I've got to question that. The only thing they left was the brick walls, and there wasn't any rebar in those. So it shows some in there. There again, I'll have this company come in, give me an estimate on what the costs are to ground that block up and get it level.
Okay. When you say grind the block up, I'm assuming you mean grind the block up and haul it away?
Either that, or they can put it in the grassy area and just use it as fill. I'll get quotes on both of them.
I'm not sure if our developmental standards will allow you to do that. I would defer to the building commissioner. We do have some standards as far as what we can put on top of the ground. We allow fill sometimes if it's going to be capped with a coat of dirt,
Okay.
Topsoil on top.
Well,
of it.
that'd be another avenue.
That's
Yeah.
pretty level ground over there. I don't think there's anything that.
Okay.
Still
Okay. Here's where we're at. I'm going to take you at your word and accept your offer to clean up the tall weeds and the grass by next Thursday morning at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
So George, if you're going to be at 1728 Michigan Avenue at 8:45, you should probably be over at 1 General Street at 8:30, and let us know that there's progress that's been made there as far as the weeds and the tall vegetation. Make sure the overgrowth is taken care of by next Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. And then give us a progress report. And would you like to be back here next Thursday morning at 9 o'clock?
I can.
I would like for you to tell me the status of the concrete and
Okay.
how you intend to either grind it or remove it. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me if you grind it or haul it away in large chunks. It has to get hauled away. There's also a dead tree there with a limb. Do you have the photographs?
Yeah.
Okay, and if you could stick around and go over that with George as well. I don't know the best way to do it. You may open that up and offer somebody a chance to go in and cut the firewood. I don't know what you want to do, but it just needs to be cleaned up, and really it's your responsibility to do it, to make all those arrangements. As I mentioned, we do have a crew that does that. Unfortunately, we have to charge for it. You would probably be better off to hire somebody yourself to do it. It would probably be less expensive for you to do that. It really doesn't matter to me at this point in time. I just know that the city is going to take some action if you don't.
Either
I want to
remove
work.
the tree or trim it back to a healthier
Oh,
state.
I think
Dead?
it's dead. Yeah, it's dead. There's limbs that are falling out of it. It appears to be a mulberry tree of some sort. You can take a look at it. You'll see it. The biggest tree on the lot. But what I'm going to take you at your word and assume that the weeds will be down by next Thursday morning. The weeds and overgrowth along the fence will be down, and that you will have a report back to us by next Thursday of when the concrete will be removed. Again, I don't care if you grind it, just get rid of it.
Yeah, I'll get with them and they can come out as soon as they can, take a look at it.
Well, I appreciate your cooperation, and we'll,
Mayor, I do have one additional request. Could you get us a copy of the EPA report on that property?
It's an old phase one. It's about 10 years old.
Is it?
Mhm.
Okay, so that was an EPA report.
It's not an EPA
Not an
report,
EPA.
It's phase one
Yeah.
environmental study. It's not
Yeah.
an EPA report.
right, very familiar with that. And along those lines, fortunately for the city, we were just awarded a grant to do some environmental studies.
Okay.
And it's the phase 2 and the phase 3.
Sure.
And I'd be very interested in identifying if that property fits the category of being in line for a phase 2. And if that's something that we can help with, we'd certainly like to redevelop that property.
Well, that would be, that'd be the ideal thing, is to redevelop the whole 12 acres.
We want to work with you. We really do.
Understand.
We have to see some progress.
Sure.
And honestly, the neighbors deserve better, and that's where we're at today.
Okay.
So I would make the motion that you report back next Thursday. We will allow you to come back next Thursday. We will extend your cleanup time until next Thursday at 9 o'clock on the weeds, and probably 2 weeks on the concrete. We need to see some action.
I don't know if I can get get any of that concrete removed in 2 weeks there again, but.
How long would it take you to
Well,
get the concrete
I'll
removed?
get hold of the owners of that building.
Okay.
They bought it from me. I only own the land.
Okay.
And
Well,
bring them up to date on where we're at.
Okay. We will expect the weeds to be down by next Thursday.
Yes.
And we will expect you back to give us an updated report
Yes.
as to when the concrete can be removed.
Yes.
If it appears that there's going to be a long extended court battle, or if there's going to be a delay in removing the concrete, we will send our own crews in to clean up the property. And we'll talk to you about it next Thursday.
Okay.
Okay.
Second.
I would make that in form of a motion if you have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. George, you have anything else on your code enforcement report? No, sir. Okay, I would move to accept the code enforcement officer's report as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any further discussion or objections?
No.
Yeah. Well, no,
Any,
that's fine.
any words from the audience? Would you like to come forward and make a statement? Come on up. If you would, yeah, sit down right there and state your name and address for the record.
Daryl Downs, 519 Washington Street.
What would you like to tell us today?
Somebody told me that's worked there for 40-some years that there's some kind of an oil pit. And she said, you know, about right where it's at, buried under the asphalt.
Okay. But just in general, you're a neighbor. You live across the street, 35 years, and you were in my office yesterday. Right. Okay. Well, for the record, you would like to see the property cleaned up?
Yes, I will.
Okay. And you're on the record now saying that. Thanks, Daryl.
I'm coming home, what do I see? Nothing but trash.
Okay.
While I'm sitting out on my front porch, what do I see? Nothing but trash.
Okay.
And they did build the docks in, because my house is right square in front of the dock.
Okay.
But, it's just piled up, just about like a big pile down there on the end.
Okay. We will address it, and you know the timeline now, so thank you for being here. Okay.
And the weeds are, I've had to have step ladders as tall as they are.
All right. It's been moved and properly seconded. There's no further discussion. I would entertain or I'd call for the vote on accepting code enforcement officer's report. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Passes on a vote of 2-0. Superintendent of Public Works, Mr. Williams.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I respectively submit my report for the Public Works Department. That includes the Mount Hope Cemetery and the Logansport Street Department. As you can tell by the length of the report, we are very busy and continue to be busy, and the grass is growing now, so we're back on full steam ahead.
How many days is it going to take to do the street grinding?
We will have that done probably, hopefully by Monday.
Okay. And you
That
delivered
includes
the
over on Tangy also.
delivered the proper notices to the property owners and the
Yes,
residents?
sir, we did,
Okay.
yes. And we ran ads in the newspaper also and put little door knockers on each door.
Okay. Any questions, comments, or discussion? And make the motion that we accept the Superintendent of Public Works report as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Hearing...
Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Passes on a vote of 2-0. Chief Clark, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I've submitted my department's monthly report for your review and approval. Be the first instance, and then I've also requested approval for the reserve police officers bylaws for your approval, review and approval also. If you have any questions.
Report appears to be in order. Thank you very much. And do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. I think we'll act on the bylaws separately and then the report in its entirety. The bylaws, can you give us some background on that?
We've always had bylaws for the reserve program since it was started. There was a little bit of verbiage that was going to be changed. It's been reviewed by the city attorney head, and he's gave his blessing. It basically is going to allow us to hire older applicants for the reserve program. We did have a cutoff the same as regular officers of 36 years old. We feel that there are some people that have expressed interest that have been reserves in the past at different agencies, have the knowledge and experience, but they exceed the 36 years requirement. So we've changed that, and hopefully that'll make our program a little better.
Okay. I like it. I appreciate your efforts. I'd make the motion that we adopt the bylaws of the Logansport Police Department with regard to the reserve program that's presented today.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded to accept the bylaw change. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. That passes on a vote of 2-0. Now I would also make a motion to accept the chief's report as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion, objections? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed. Passes on a vote of 2-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Fire Chief Strong.
Morning. I didn't receive my mileage till yesterday, so I don't have my monthly report done yet, but just want to report of the calls we had this week. We did have one call on 1424.5 East Market Street, where some good citizens, passerbys came by and saw smoke coming out of a house, and these people stopped on their way to work and were late for work. I went up and knocked on the doors. There was 2 residents in this house. It was an apartment, and got everybody out of the house. Notified us. The guy showed up there, got up in the attic, found a fire in the attic, got it put out right away, and just did an extremely good job. I just want to, put the good word for the passerbys that stopped, and the guys at the fire department did an amazing job too of fighting the fire so fast. And
Did you get the names of the people who stopped?
I know John Russell was one of the names.
Okay.
I can't remember.
Okay.
There was a couple other people that helped too, I know for sure.
Okay.
And I can't remember the other guy's name right now, and I don't have it written down, but I think their names were in the newspaper. But I just really like to express thanks to them. And also the Red Cross did a great job. They always do help us out, but they came and put the resident upstairs in a new place. They had to shut the electricity off, of course, and just all around the guys did an amazing job too. We got a tarp up there, pulled down the ceiling, just that area, and I think the guy got the power back on Monday and got the people back in there on Monday. So it happened on a Friday, got them back in on Monday. So
Questions?
Great job. Also, we were having a lot of tours in the summer with all the preschools and stuff like that. So the guys have been busy doing that, training. We're working on an Explorer program with the Boy Scouts to start up here. Monticello has one, so we're exploring that and going to have some young men come in there, Boy Scouts that might be interested in being in the fire service. So they're going to kind of do it's called Explorer program. We also have a job shadow that we're going to have this year with the Career Center. So we think that's a good idea.
Okay.
2.
Thank you. I'd make a motion to accept the chief's report as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Passes on a vote of 2-0. Any visitor comments? Hearing none. Board member comments? None. Miscellaneous business, including matters not already considered? None. I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.